The living cell. Ibn Sina says, "The pure soul is the rational soul among the noble prophets, who perceive the intelligible without the need for a teacher or book. This occurs through intellectual intuition and by its union with the realm of angels. It is by its vision and awareness that it ascends to the world of the unseen and receives revelation. Revelation is the connection between the angels and the human soul, acting upon the substance of knowledge to bring about miracles. This is the highest level of human existence. Thus, a being with such a soul is God's representative on earth, and their existence aligns with reason, being essential for the survival and immortality of the human race. Intellectual honesty compels us to present the viewpoint of the proponents of creationism and to acknowledge the strength of their arguments, just as we will present the theory of evolution, which remains entangled in incidental uncertainties. There exist vast numbers of creatures about which nothing is known, and many of these have no relation to the evolutionary lineage connecting higher primates and humans. The relationship between key biological groups remains entirely absent. For example, the whale, supposedly an amphibious creature that returned to the sea, lacks fossil evidence demonstrating its evolutionary transition. The same goes for bats and dinosaurs as well, which lived in social structures similar to other animals before and after them. The theory has not yet provided a reasonable explanation for their disappearance. The survival incentives and life forces that supposedly shaped the tree of life, according to evolutionary theory, were insufficient to preserve these creatures. We believe that the extinction of the dinosaurs was the result of a divine plan, paving the way for humanity. Indeed, there is no doubt that a higher power governs, directs, and controls all living creatures. This becomes even more evident when we examine the extraordinary living organism known as the living cell, about which biologists assert that it is the mother from which life, in the form we see today, evolved, beginning its journey in swampy waters and developing without guidance into millions of forms: plants, insects, animals, and humans. The cell is a living organism containing all the components necessary for life. It moves, ingests food, digests it, and excretes waste just like any other living organism. The size of a cell is 1/1000th of a millimeter, and its substance is primarily made up of protoplasm. Inside the cell is a nucleus, containing the nucleic protein material DNA, within the deoxyribonucleic acid, these tiny bodies chromosomes that carry genetic factors. The nucleus of the living cell replicates these hereditary traits, transmitting them to the next cell when it divides, ensuring that the genetic identity is preserved, and these traits are inherited in the same form by successive generations of cells. Every cell contains the original blueprint, DNA, within the nucleus, and a copy, RNA, outside in the cytoplasm, ribonucleic acid. The new copies in the cell are printed from this template, while the original remains inside. DNA is a complex chemical substance composed of 20 amino acids connected to each other, and it commands other materials to replicate any number of cells in its own image. This is how geneticists, in simplified terms, explain the intricate process performed by the living cell. The chromosomes, which carry genetic factors, exist in a fixed number in the cells of both plants and animals, though the number varies between species. In the human body, the number of chromosomes in each cell is 46. And when the cell divides, the new cell retains the same number of these chromosomes. This is a law that applies to all body cells except for two types of reproductive cells: the sperm in males and the egg in females. When tissue cells divide to produce these reproductive cells, they result in cells that do not contain 46 chromosomes, but rather half that number, meaning that each male or female reproductive cell contains only 23 chromosomes. It is well known that the male cell, the sperm, merges with the female cell, the egg, to form the first living cell in the embryo's body, the fertilized cell, which now contains 46 chromosomes. Then it continuously divides, leading to the formation and full development of the embryo, which emerges with a body containing cells with 46 chromosomes. Could any rational person imagine that this cell, supposedly created by mere chance, as some claim, had planned this miraculous genetic process to equally distribute the traits of both the father and the mother to the offspring? Is it mere chance? Or is it the work of a wise and governing force over its creatures? This is a precise design that can never be left to the possibility of trial and error. Furthermore, we find that nerve and muscle cells do not divide. The nerve cells that form the brain and the rest of the nervous system, if they were to divide like other cells, it would be disastrous. If brain cells divided, memory would be lost within a few hours, and a person would lose their identity. The number of brain cells in both humans and animals remains the same from birth until death. Meanwhile, other cells continuously divide and regenerate. The body loses 60 million cells every hour, which are immediately and automatically replaced. Red blood cells, which circulate in the blood, regenerate every 100 days, and even the skeletal structure renews all its cells every 7 years. Like every living organism, the living cell has a natural enemy, and this is the law of life. No one is exempt from this rule, and the enemy of the cell is the virus, the scourge of living cells and life in general. Viruses are extremely small organisms, the smallest of all microbes, discovered with the invention of the electron microscope, which has a magnification power of 200,000 times. A virus is a protein material without life, composed of the same DNA and RNA material, and sometimes of only one or the other. It is merely a chemical substance devoid of life, often in the form of pure crystals, and sometimes these crystals are surrounded by a multi-pronged fatty sheath. The virus remains without life or a cellular body until it encounters a cell, injecting it with the DNA it is made of. It releases this material into the cell, leaving its outer shell behind. At this moment, it becomes a living entity and begins to take control of the cell according to its own instructions. The cell becomes confused and starts following the new information, producing viruses instead of cells, which then spread rapidly throughout the body. The body becomes aware of the viral invasion and secretes antibodies that carry chemical instructions to restore the cells to their natural state and expel the virus from them. This is an astonishing depiction of life, revealing a mystery that remains beyond comprehension. Each cell is born carrying within it instructions that it carries out with remarkable precision. Every group of cells that forms the body is tasked with performing a specific function, maintaining the health of the body, much like an army defends its homeland and its unity against any external invasion, ensuring the chemical balance of the body and defending against microbial invasions that bring disease and threaten its survival. Thus, cells continuously engage in ceaseless activity, attacking, defending, and correcting with precision and order.